Well, good afternoon and welcome to Demo Day. How is everybody today? Yeah, that's right. Get excited. If you're out there in the lobby, please feel free to come on down. We're going to get started with our show. My name's Christina Gunter. I'm our Director of Strategic Partnerships for Lighthouse Labs, but today I'm going to be your host through Demo Day. I'm going to guide you throughout Demo Day, but before we get started, I would like to introduce Lighthouse Labs Managing Director Paul Nolde to say a few words. Paul?
All right. Thank you, Christina. I always say thank you. So the applause should be for y'all. I mean, we can't do this without you showing up and leaning in, and as our tagline says, investing in the lives of founders. So thank you. So I also want to say hi to our audience, our virtual audience, because we are live streaming this for the first time. It's been 10 years since we started, and I know one of our co-founders is watching virtually, Todd Knuckles, and another one is here in person, Larkin Garby. So we just trying to I guess honor their legacy, and then also my predecessor, Aaron Powell, I believe is here as well. So we've got kind of the team back, so it's good to see everybody. So I do have a few thank yous because obviously we cannot do this alone. It takes a village, as they say, and I think RVA through the years really has embraced innovation, embraced startups. But again, we rely on the support of our corporations, of our private donors, of the state. So, all of our partners go into this and make it happen. So a big thank you to Capital One as the sponsor for today's event. So. Another thank you to VCU Health and their clinical and transformational innovation team. They have been a critical part of Lighthouse Labs for the past few years. They actually allow us to stand up a healthcare vertical and have been really good partners at making sure that they embrace the healthcare companies in a unique way, tailored for what their needs are. So again, thank you very much to VCU Health and their transformational team. I think their entire team's here, so thank you for that. I would also say thank you to our board. We've got a really dynamic board. We've been having a lot of one-on-ones with them, engaging them this year. We certainly can't go forward without their strategic direction and help. So if you are here and on the board, if you could just either raise your hand or stand up, but thank you very much for your time and energy into Lighthouse Labs. And I'd say, last but certainly not least, my amazing team. The Lighthouse team is incredible. So just want to call out, we have what we like to call our unicorn intern. It's at this point, she's interned so much with us, she might as well be a full-time employee. Vedika Krishna, she is down here managing the, yes, stand up. She's amazing. We have our acceleration program manager, Glenna Croy, who is behind stage. Come on out. Yes. Yes. And then y'all have met Christina, who is responsible for this event and so many others, and is our MC for tonight. She has an amazing stage presence. So with that, you didn't come here to hear me speak. I want to get to our sharks and our companies, so I'll turn it back to Christina, but thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Paul. All right, who's ready to meet our sharks today? All right. So first, let's welcome to the stage no stranger to Lighthouse Labs. He's a Lighthouse alum from Batch 3 in the fall of 2015 and runs a successful company located right here in RVA. He's a fantastic supporter of our program. Please put your hands together for Joe Bellstring, founder and CEO of Major Clarity.
I've got the power!
All right, hey Joe. Next, help me welcome to the stage a very successful entrepreneur here in Richmond. She sits on multiple boards around town, including Chamber RVA and CultureWorks, and served as a consultant for the Black Business Opportunity and Investment Study. Please welcome co-founder of the Richmond Night Market and director of programming and co-founder of the Jackson Ward Collective Foundation, Melody Short.
Y'all ready for this?
And finally, representing our partner for the fall cohort healthcare track from VCU Health and Internal Medicine, please make some noise for Dr. John McCurley.
Hey, look, Ma, I made it. Hey, look, Ma, I made it. Everything's coming up.
All right, thank you, Sharks. Well, it's time to kick off the show. So without further ado, we're starting with the founder from right here in Richmond, Virginia. Please make some noise for Margaret Upshur with Mobius Materials.
Hello, everybody. Nice to see all of you. I'm excited to have this hometown crowd. So I am the founder of Mobius Materials, and is this not working? Oh, there we go. And we are a secondary market for semiconductors. So I have kind of the challenging task of describing to you guys a secondary market and the semiconductor problem we're solving. So I actually brought a prop. This is actually 250 of the parts that we're selling, electronic components. And you guys all have hundreds of these in your pocket right now if you have a cell phone and you're not like a time traveler from the 50s. So that's what we're selling, and we are solving a gigantic market breakdown that is what happens when parts are excess, they've been over forecasted, and they need to get back into the market. So this isn't working. Oh, here we go. So I discovered this problem when I ran a P&L in Silicon Valley. And I was a company that was trying to build products. And we use semiconductors, and those are the building blocks of any product these days. So we had about $500,000 of these that were excess. And I thought, okay, this is gonna be pretty easy to sell these back. You drive a car off the lot, you get 10% off. I actually got, can you change the slide? I got less than $3K for those semiconductors. So you can imagine when I took into account team time and the reputational risk of posting a bunch of parts and leaking this data onto the market, that $3K didn't look very good at all. Next slide, please. So if you multiply this times the 30,000 electronic manufacturers in the country that looked exactly like me, this is a $15 billion problem. And this stuff is going straight into the trash. Why is this happening? Like, everybody has had the experience recently where they're trying to get something. You know semiconductors are in shortage. My dad's in the audience. He's been trying to get a truck for about a year, and he can't get it. So it actually is because there is a counterfeit market in semiconductors that's worth $25 billion. So we're talking bigger than the entire music industry. This pushes down the prices drastically. And so that means that's why you're getting $3K on that $500K that I got before. We're solving this with two pieces of tech. The first is we have a marketplace that connects buyers and sellers in an enterprise way. So these people, if you're Apple, you don't have to go on eBay to sell these parts. You can go onto a enterprise marketplace. And the second is we built an amazing piece of tech that's patent pending, and it uses machine learning to validate these semiconductors and authenticate them. That's really the key. Now the counterfeit market isn't there, and the prices of these can go up. We launched this year, and we're growing really fast. I'm so proud of my team. We've been growing revenue 40% month on month since we launched, and we're gonna beat this next month too. So let's talk about the pricing, and this is what makes this market so incredible. So this is a real customer example. On the left, you have the $3K price that they got offered on the broker market, which is the gray kind of counterfeit market today. And on the right, you have the price that they got with us. So it was a 10x in price. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see that we divide that we get 40% for Mobius, which is an unheard of for a marketplace take rate. And then the customer is still getting 7x the return. So it makes a huge difference for them. And it means that instead of those things going into the trash, they can go back into the supply chain where they belong. So it's a win for planet Earth too. Next slide, please. We have an amazing team. I'm so proud of this team. To start off with my background, I mentioned that I was in Silicon Valley for quite a while, building teams at electronic manufacturers that look exactly like both our buyers and our sellers. I built teams from pre-seed stage to a seed stage and built teams up to about 40 people. I also have two amazing team members with me. The first is Allie. She is helping us with marketing. She's got a technical background and just a knack for phrasing things the right way when I, the engineer, cannot do it. And then we have Gibbs, who is our customer service person. Then we have an amazing technical and business advisory team behind us too. Everybody on this team has got deep tech experience and electronic manufacturing experience. And also we got pretty cool purple glasses there on the bottom, which is always a benefit when I show this slide. Next, please. So let's talk about next step for Mobius. We have a really exciting path ahead of us. You can see we made great traction in the last couple months by our revenue numbers. Basically, we now need to build more automation to keep supporting that growth rate going forward. So that's what we're going to do in the next couple of quarters. We're building out automation features so that we can ramp this thing up even further. I like that graph shape, and I want to keep it going. So then the other thing we're going to do is we're trying to robustify our lead generation engine. So we want to get bigger and bigger sellers on the platform. Right now, we are targeting pretty small SMBs, but when we move into that enterprise size, we can increase the rate we grow this drastically. So we're looking for help in a couple ways. We're hiring in Richmond, so if you know of anybody who's an engineer or just a smart kind of hustler who can help us, we'd love to talk to you. And then we're also looking for help on the sales side and considering an investment round in Q1. Thank you so much. Okay, Sharks, what you got for me?
Yeah, I can kick it off, I guess.
Yeah.
So just wanted to understand a little bit about the value of your customers. It looked like you were approaching 40,000 MRR, or not recurring, but is that GMV or is that revenue? And then you said you have the 40% share. What's your average order value? How often are customers placing orders per year? And what's your cost of acquiring those customers?
Okay, can you bullet point your 5 questions for me?
Sorry. So what's it cost to acquire a customer?
Yeah.
What's their average order value that you're getting 40% of, and how many times are they ordering per year?
Yeah, great. Okay, so on the so I've got 2 customers essentially because we're a 2-sided marketplace. On the sell side, these companies are bigger. So on average, they've got about $200,000 of parts. But I have had conversations with companies that have up to $70 million in parts. So we need to ramp up the size of that seller, and that's part of our goals. On the buy side, the transactions are generally smaller. So our average sell is about $4,000, and then we would take 40% of that transaction. So the 33K number that you saw, which is the $400,000 in annualized revenue, that was coming from those sales, and that's the GMV.
Okay.
And then we take 40% of that as the margin.
And do they repeat order per year, or is it usually one order per year?
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 things that make this business really amazing on the repeatability side. On the sell side, these customers are generating new excess all the time. It's kind of the course of business that you generate like 5% of your inventory as excess. And so they have exclusive contracts with us to recurringly post this on our site. On the buy side, we have seen a lot of second sales so far. We really need to get to more scale to see what that's going to look like. But as we build up more inventory, the match rate that we have between what they're looking for and what we have is going to increase. So it can only get better. The second thing I didn't mention that makes this business like really awesome, it's my baby, but you know, is that there's 80% overlap between buyers and sellers. So typically with this kind of marketplace, there's a chicken and the egg problem. Like, If you're Airbnb, you don't have any houses on there, you don't have any people looking for houses. But for us, because buyers and sellers are 80% the same people, we can jumpstart it a lot faster.
Thank you.
Yep.
I have one quick question. Well, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Talk to us a bit about your competition. Why would I come to your marketplace specifically versus the competitors?
That's a great question. So I'll bucket my competition to 3 buckets. The first one is the easiest to beat, and that's the landfill. Like in the case that I was a seller, really the alternative is the amount of no work that you get with the landfill. Obviously, we can beat them pretty easily. The second would be eBay, these generalized marketplaces. About 1 in 3 semiconductors that are listed on those marketplaces are expected to be counterfeit. So it's not a very valid competitor for ours, because what enterprise buyer is going to say, yeah, I'll just roll the dice on my job by buying parts on eBay. The third one is brokers. So when we had that $25 billion counterfeit industry, that industry is primarily made up of smaller brokers that are wheeling and dealing small deals. And so it's similar to think about like the freight industry before Flexport. We basically win against those companies because we have the authentication. That's the core to our value prop. We have that trust.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
One quick question. You talked a little bit about the scale issues. How do you, and what looks like a great team, so how do you think that team will change with scale? And will the scaling be primarily a tech scaling or a team scaling for you?
I think it'll look a little bit like some of the other markets where you've had a broker ecosystem that gets supplanted by tech like us. So if you look at Flexport as an example of a company I love and have used, they built up a team that is focused on automation and the tech and the software side. And then at the same time, they built a operational team that was willing to bridge the gap as they grew and automated. So that's what we want to do too, like kind of keep pushing both forward so that we can make sure that we serve all the needs while we're automating. So that's why we're hiring 2 roles, an engineer and a operations customer success person to push both of those forward.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for the presentation. That's
Thank
great.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Margaret. Fantastic job. Next, getting thrown to the sharks, our first team within our healthcare vertical, presented by VCU Health. From Boston, Massachusetts, let's welcome Josh Resnikoff with TMA Precision Health.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you so much for Lighthouse for having us down here. It's been just such a fantastic week. So, I think about all the people in this crowd, and I think that probably a lot of you are actually just like me, right? Like the motivation for you to be here is to do a little bit of good in the world, to make the world a little bit of a better place. And it's why we actually made TMA Precision Health, to bring better healthcare to rare disease patients. Next slide, please. So let me tell you about how big the rare disease problem is, all right? On the one side, you have the largest underserved patient population on the planet. That's 8% of all people have a genetic-based disease. That's just as many people as have diabetes. And what this means is that you have hundreds of millions of patients looking for a diagnosis so they can get the kind of treatment that they deserve. Now, on the other side, you've got pharma, who's so excited to be in the druggable space of rare disease that half of all FDA submissions last year were for rare disease drugs. But what powers that research? It's data. And the reality is that for rare disease patients or rare disease research, that data just doesn't really exist. But pharma wants to be in this space so bad, they're literally throwing money at the wall to try to see what sticks. Next slide, please. Now, what's crazy about this market gap is that we have a very highly deployable technology that gets the patient the diagnosis they need and actually produces the kind of data that pharma wants. It's called whole genome sequencing. Now, whole genome sequencing is the only kind of genetic sequencing that works for this, because it's the only kind of genetic sequencing that actually looks at all 3 billion of the DNA molecules, so you can find the exact mutation that causes the disease. It's robust, it's shelf stable. We've used it for years in research, but insurance won't pay for it, so rare disease patients can't get access to it. Next slide, please. So that's what TMA does. We just pay for it. We connect with hospitals and patients all over the world. We send them a free kit. They take a cheek swab, they send it back to our sequencer, they get a diagnosis. Next slide, please. And when they do that, they share in a consented, de-identified copy of their genetic and clinical data with us so that we can build our database. So as TMA is helping patients, they are helping us build the largest rare disease database in the world. Next slide, please. So when the patients share this data with us, it is exactly the kind of data that pharma wants access to. And because we were able to build our database in a proprietary way, we could wrap a little bit of IP around it to protect ourselves. Next slide, please. We sell that data back to biopharma customers. So when I say biopharma, I'm talking about companies like Pfizer, Vertex, Alexion. The market for this data last year was worth $125 billion. It's estimated to grow to $300 billion in 2030. And because of our ability to go get this data that nobody else has, we've been steadily taking on customers since June when we launched the service. Next slide, please. Our business model is very straightforward. It's a data marketplace. So we have 4 data products. It's multiple bites in the apple, really. We can sell pharma the data on the front end and then help them find the patients on the back end when they want to go into clinical trials. The secret sauce for us is really that we have pretty unique access to these patients, and on a per patient basis, we can effectively buy the data from them for about $350. Now, because biopharma is the customer and this data is so valuable to them, it's got a lifetime value of about $50K. But I know that here I'm talking about genetics and rare disease. All you really need to know is that we are in the most vetted business model in the world. We buy low and we sell high. Next slide, please. So there's a lot of smart people here. I'm sure people on the panel too are saying, you know, hey, if this data is so valuable, how come other people aren't doing this? But the answer is there's a lot of people doing this. Data mining like this is actually the most effective way to go get this kind of data. The reality, like Regeneron, for example, just put $1 billion effort in with Mount Sinai to sequence 1 million New Yorkers. GSK, a major biopharmaceutical company, just gave 23andMe $300 million to get access to their data. But with all due respect to these companies, that data is pretty much crap, right? It's not patient-specific and it's not whole genomics. So these guys are literally hunting around for needles and haystacks. Because we focus on rare disease patients and because we get the whole genome, we are literally building haystacks out of those needles. Next slide, please. So now you want to know, well, great, this sounds pretty good, but how feasible is it? How scalable is it? We've spent the last 2 years growing a network across the US and Latin America that now comprises 3.5 million rare disease patients, access to them. And because nobody else offers this service for free, they opt in at an over 80% rate. Next slide, please. So we've been growing. That 3.5 million patient access has really gotten out. People are starting to come to us. We have taken more customer meetings in the last 3 weeks than we have for the first 6 months of this year. Next slide, please. We all know that if you want to build a successful company, you need the right team. Now, I am involved in this business because my son has a rare syndrome, but I actually have over 9 years of experience in translational medicine. So I worked at MIT and Tufts and Harvard Med, really using science to make better solutions for humans. Now, I also founded a few companies. Some of these were consumer products companies where we were literally shipping hundreds of thousands of products around the world. So I have the exact kind of skill set that you need to build a company just like this. Javi is our CMO, Chief Medical Officer. He's currently the Director of Neuroradiology at Mass General. He's a Colombian national, and he's led clinical trials in Latin America for over 20 years. Jose and I know each other from working at Harvard Med. He's done everything from designing satellites for the European Space Agency to being the tech lead on a $37 million DARPA grant. Marty is our Chief Commercial Officer and a co-founder. He's got decades of experience in venture development, and as the former president of the Harvard Alumni Association, he's got kind of a kick-ass Rolodex for us to tap into. Next slide, please. So we are going to help at least 100,000 rare disease patients over the next 3 years. For me, when I imagine the kind of impact that can have, how we're really the company selling shovels in the gold rush, the amount of tech that we can enable, the cures that we can power, that gets me really excited. But the other thing that I think should be pointed out here, because I know we're talking to a bunch of investors and it's my fiscal responsibility to tell you this, that's an asset value of over $5 billion. So if you'd like to join the cause, we are raising a round. I'm sitting right down over there and happy to take any questions. Thank you very much.
All right, I'll just kick off. Thanks again for the presentation. It's excellent. In the presentation, you mentioned that one of the things that differentiates you from others that are in this space is the uniqueness of the data that you're getting, that it's not de-identified and just, it's very specific, not whole cloth. So that raises the privacy issues that they're trying to avoid with that, I think, honestly. So how are you addressing that, and do you think that that's an important piece of the work for you going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. And if I wasn't clear about that, let me be very clear right now. We only pull in de-identified data to the database. So all personal health information has to remain sovereign. So we actually tokenize everything and encrypt it before we pull it into our database. We actually have 3 separate buckets so that when we actually license access to it, they can never get back to the individual. It's privacy, patient privacy, and security is paramount for us.
Thanks.
So you mentioned you're seeking investors now.
We are.
Talk to us a bit about your customer acquisition process.
It's actually, I don't want to trivialize the business, but it's actually not that difficult. So we work with genomics institutes, with genetic specialty. So we're already starting with an enriched population at the top of the funnel. Honestly, when we talk to some of the providers in these under-resourced geographies, they're almost more excited than the patients are because, imagine you're a cardiologist and you've never had access to a stethoscope before, right? These are genetic doctors who want to be able to provide this service, but their own governments, their own insurance companies won't pay for it. So we're able to really leverage their access, that last mile access to the patient, to get right in front of the patient and have them consent in. Did I answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay.
So just wanted to clarify something I might have misunderstood, but you said it's $350 to acquire a patient's data?
That's right.
And you have 3.5 million patients in your database?
And we have access to 3.5 million patients.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's $1
Listen,
billion
man,
acquisition
if
cost.
I'd already capitalized 3.5 million patients.
I was about to, okay. Well, then I'll pivot my question to piggybacking on hers. You said you've been working with customers since June. So can you speak a little bit to what the contract value expansion, retention, et cetera, has looked like with those customers over the last 5 months?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and thank you for asking it. So our first customer was a company from Cambridge, Massachusetts. They had a repurposed drug that they wanted to be able to find 3 little girls to go into a Rett syndrome. Rett syndrome is a neurodegenerative. They couldn't find them up here, so they came to us. That was a 5-figure contract. We're now negotiating a 6-figure contract with a long-read sequencing company who needs 150 patients of a specific type. And we've actually inked a recurring contract with a Fortune 5, the payer healthcare. Their estimates are quite large. I don't even want to get into it until we have some more traction to point to, but it's 6- and 7-figure contracts there. It's the money in the biopharma space is just large. And we want to go talk to everybody and acquire everybody, but the reality is that we can service a few people in the near term and be pretty effective.
Thank you.
Yeah?
Thank you.
More? No?
Nope, you're good.
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Josh. Very impressive. So next up, joining us from New York City, put your hands together for Julie Griggs and Danielle Dietrich with 4Play Social.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Just the two of us.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Danielle. This is Julie, and we are the co-founders of 4Play, which is a little different from the other companies, but probably not what you think. Next slide, please. So there is a massive problem for us single people. I'll just give it to you straight. And that's that dating apps have ruined single life. Why? Because dating apps have made single life a not social experience. It's really lonely, actually. It's individual-oriented, where you are swiping on your phone by yourself. It's also associated with binary outcomes, right? It's all or nothing. So either you have chemistry with that person on the date, or honestly, you're never seeing that person ever again. And lastly, they can be unsafe. So there is a positive correlation between the advent of dating apps and dating-related crime, and it disproportionately affects women. NPS is the likelihood that a consumer would recommend a product or a service to their friend or colleague. And if you look at the NPS score by industry, you'll see that major dating apps are the only thing in red on this graph. And please be mindful that insurance companies are on this graph, and airlines are also on this graph. So this is not a subjective opinion, but rather data-driven that dating apps suck. So what is the solution to make single life fun again? And how do we do that? Well, if it's not a social experience, then let's make it social. And if there are these binary outcomes, then why don't we just make these outcomes limitless and take the pressure off? And lastly, if it's unsafe, why not implement the buddy system, which is tried and true when it comes to safety? I'm getting a little hot. Are you getting a little hot?
I think it might be the lights. It's a little warm.
A little hot in here. Is anybody else hot?
Well, I'm gonna take my jacket off.
Yeah, I'm gonna just take my jacket off. Introducing Foreplay.
We love it.
We love it. It is a singles app where users team up with another single friend, create a shared profile, and match with other pairs of single friends. The way that it works is a user creates an account, so I would create an account, then Julie creates her account, and then together we make a shared profile. Now we are called a team, and a user can have an unlimited number of teams. Then we browse other pairs of friends, and when we match with another team, a group chat is generated where we can plan to meet up the four of us. Unlike dating apps, we have a flywheel of user acquisition because every user begets at least one more user. So more often than not, we actually see that we'll recruit one person and then they might have 7 other single friends, especially if they're like 19 or 20, and then we get all of those users onto our app. Our viral coefficient is 2. And that's probably why we were able to get to, next slide please, 15,000 users in our initial audience with less than $1.50 per user. Next, thanks. So who are these users? Our initial target audience are singles in New York City. They are Gen Zennials, so they are 18 to 34, and that's 96% of our user base. And then they're also, obviously, social people. So they are college students, or they're young professionals, or people like Julie and myself whose friends are all married or pregnant.
Boring.
And we are looking to expand our single social network.
But this is just where we're starting. We know that Foreplay is going to be a global brand, and the reason why we know that is because of all of the earned press and coverage we've had thus far. We've had mentions on Live with Kelly Ripa and Ryan Seacrest. Last week we were featured in The Morning Brew, and we get messages on a daily basis from people all over the globe, literally begging us to bring Foreplay to their city. Next slide, please. So we're operating in a huge industry. It's estimated that by 2027, the online dating market is going to be worth over $13 billion, which is particularly exciting because just a few weeks ago when we were looking at this data, it was an $11 billion projection, but the compounded annual growth rate has increased, demonstrating that not only are we in a recession-proof industry, but we're also flourishing during this time. So if Foreplay owns 20% of the US online dating market by 2027, we'll be generating $700 million in revenue. I promise we're sane. In 2021, Bumble owned 22% of the US market, and they generated almost $600 million in revenue. Next slide, please. By the way, the age group that accounts for the majority of the revenue comes from 18 to 34-year-olds, which, if you missed it, is 96% of our user base. Next slide, please. So we plan to monetize in 2 ways. The first is through B2C premium subscriptions. This is standard in the dating industry. Singles are used to it, and so we're not going to reinvent the wheel. The second way is through in-app ads in the form of deals and discounts and experiences for our users. Next slide, please. So how does Foreplay stack up to dating apps? We are the only platform designed specifically for singles that is less pressure because we've gotten rid of the binary outcomes, that is safer because none of our users are going out and meeting strangers by themselves, that is little effort because if you don't use dating apps because you hate sitting endlessly swiping and making small talk,
That's me,
Danielle.
by the way.
And you have a friend who will do it, though doesn't enjoy doing it.
That's Julie.
me. We can get the Danielles because the Julies need a teammate, right? So we're able to capture that anti-dating app user. We allow our users to make platonic relationships in addition to romantic ones, and we're in the process of building out events and deals for our users to be able to experience in their city. So Danielle and I are the co-founding team. We have been best friends for nearly 13 years, where I am extremely type A. I took out the shirt, I ironed it this morning. Danielle is extremely type Z. She spent the morning looking for it in the bottom of the hamper. But when you put us together, we are a force to be reckoned with, and we are truly unstoppable. We are resilient, we are out-of-the-box thinkers, we are unbelievably scrappy, and we are super passionate about what we're doing, and our authenticity and passion excites other people and is a huge reason why our cost per acquisition is so low. Next slide, please. Our first full-time employee is Danny Barnes. He's our VP of engineering. He is cross-platform, he's full stack. He has managed a small team of engineers. He's worked with startups for the past 9 years and has exceeded any expectation and shares in our passion. We have 2 advisors, 1 technical and 1 legal. So our ask is that we are raising $1 million so that by February of 2024, we can be live in 5 markets. We can have a monthly recurring revenue of over $300,000 and have over 600,000 users on our platform. We have raised just about half of the round. We're from New York. We heard Virginians are much nicer, so we left the other half open for you all. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for enjoying foreplay.
So I may have missed this. So you're already in operation. How long? When did you start?
So we started at the tail end of 2019 is when Foreplay launched in the App Store.
Okay.
And what happened shortly after that was the pandemic, and I'm a nurse, Julie is a PA. And so 2020 really was a wash for us. We spent most of that year on the front lines and doing less user acquisition and more focus on the brand and the brand values, since it wouldn't have been ethical of us to recruit users during the time. So although we launched in 2019, user acquisition didn't begin until 2021.
Okay, and revenue to date?
We're pre-revenue.
Okay, thank you.
I saw some of the stats on like DAU, et cetera. Can you speak a little bit to your cohort retention? So what does usage look like for users after 30 days post first use or download?
That's a great question. We actually don't have post 30 days. We measure day 1, day 7, and day 30. But we can tell you that we have what we call a Foreplay super user. We have over 300 of them, and these are people that have over 50 matches each on the app and continue to come back.
Can you share just what percentage of users are active at day 7, day 30, et cetera?
So day 1 is about 27%,
Okay.
and day 30 is about 5%, which is on par with the industry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you have a small team right now in a market that feels fairly volatile. Lots of competitors, lots of players, lots of change. How do you see your development of a team that can really help you continue as you grow to understand the market that you're in, so that you can continue to pivot and be successful?
Go ahead and answer that. Okay. Good question. So coming from healthcare backgrounds, obviously we know that there's a lot that we don't know. We're the first to admit that. We've done a pretty good job, I gotta say, the 2 of us. But ideally the next hire would be somebody with B2C experience, ideally someone that has worked in the online social networking or dating industry, so that they can provide some of those insights as to what go-to-market strategies worked for them versus which ones didn't. And ideally, it would be great to also expand the tech team, because the whole, a large success of our business relies on our users going on and having a great time. And we pride ourselves on having exceptional customer service. We're told that all the time by our users. And so we would like to continue that as we scale and being able to accommodate for all the users on the app.
Thanks.
I actually have another question.
Yeah.
Talk to me a bit about your marketing strategy, in terms of being able to differentiate what you're offering from the dating platforms, because as a customer, I see an ad, to me, it's especially if you have the opportunity to meet somebody beyond a friend on your site, how do I know it's the difference?
That's a great question, and it's definitely something that we think about daily, and that's something that keeps us going, is how do we differentiate ourselves, and how do we ensure that Foreplay is an entire brand with an entire ethos and not just a gimmick, right? And so the way that we do that is with our value system, and we value friendship, which is something that dating apps might not value, right? And for us, the focus is on the singles experience. So that single person enjoying singlehood in tandem with their other single friend. And so it kind of fights, in a way, the value proposition of some other apps that are in the space. Each of them kind of has their own value system and their own brand. Some of the biggest players that you might recognize are Bumble and Hinge. Hinge, their tagline is designed to be deleted. And Bumble, they are all about, I will say, we have an appendix slide that might show this.
Slide C, I think.
Slide C. There was a notification that Julie got on her phone the other night from Bumble, because of course, we have to use all of them for market research.
One more slide. Sorry.
And that notification said, everything can change with just one match. And so I think the message that they're conveying there is you don't have to be single. We use our app and you won't be single anymore. And so the way that we differentiate ourselves is by really celebrating the single experience and by saying it's okay to be single, and whatever you want to happen from a date and meeting other single people, you can try on Foreplay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try.
Wonderful job, ladies. Thank you.
They're not tough.
All right, now please welcome to the stage our second team within the healthcare vertical, presented by VCU Health. Based in Plantation, Florida, please welcome Lorena Feliz Santos with DM Life.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Lorena Feliz Santos. I am the CEO and founder of DM. And I started DM because I'm a mom of 2 children with type 1 diabetes. I lost my grandmother to complications from type 2 diabetes. And it was through my own personal experience that I identified with my team an opportunity to build something completely different. Not to put them in the spot, but 2 of my kids are here. So there they are in case you want to say hi later. They're hiding. To talk a little bit about myself before I start in what we're building, I'm a 3-time founder. I have worked in the pharmaceutical industry, I've worked in sustainable development in over 35 countries, and I'm a humanitarian. So this isn't just a vision about helping people with diabetes, it really is about creating a ripple effect, potentially across the world. So I'm so excited to present what we're building. Slide, please. First of all, a little bit of statistics out there. There's 96 million people in the United States with prediabetes, and 37 million with diabetes. And there's in 24 years, there's a 51% increase expected in diabetes, which is just absolutely insane. Next slide. Why is that happening? Only 8,500 endocrinologists in the United States for 37 million people. And this is insane, right? There's too much a supply-demand issue here. Next slide. The thing is that this is actually leading to a lot of complications. Complications such as heart disease, kidney disease, amputations, and worse. In fact, diabetes is a silent killer. People don't die from diabetes, they die from complications. So having 98% of them develop complications is a massive problem. In addition, as you can see, 93% of them don't know how to effectively manage and control. And this ripple effect also goes into the health systems. Next slide. A lot of what's happening in our health systems is that first they worked under a reactive care model. What does that mean? That means that when a person goes to see a doctor and they have diabetes complications or diabetes, the doctor can only work with a problem that just occurred. He cannot do something beforehand. So it's reactive, not proactive. Second, that's leading to a lot of high ER visits, which unfortunately, if you look at the readmission rates, it's over 22.7%. And that's absolutely crazy that people are going back into the ER after being diagnosed or after visiting their doctor. Now, this in turn is affecting the health systems even worse. And it's that they're losing millions of dollars in reimbursement claims, and that affects their bottom line. So how can we help people with diabetes, and how can we help health systems and doctors efficiently care for patients and care for themselves? Next slide. When I first experienced diabetes personally, it was very tough. My doctor told me to go on YouTube to watch a video on how to put a medical device on my son, and it was horrible. It looked like a surgical contraption. I didn't know what to do with it. And what I realized was that people needed access to information, to education, and that we really relied on each other because there's not enough doctors. So what you find that we built is a social health platform that brings together all of the missing pieces that a person with diabetes needs. We bring their education, we bring events, we bring challenges and groups, and all these different experiences for them to feel connected. And in the back end, we offer clinical moderation. So it's not like Facebook. It's not that you just post and someone presses like and shares a comment. We're actually there to make sure that information is shared correctly and that doctor is able to look at it and make sure that you're not hurting yourself or others. More importantly, that if you're going to share any type of information, that it's correct. And they're also there to build an experience, to build on the knowledge and education. And that's why you see within our platform the members, people with diabetes, that's type 1, type 2, gestational, pre-diabetes. Right below that, you see MD Pro, which is for our medical professionals. We offer free and paid. And to the right of that, you have all of these different organizations that can also access our system and the data that we offer and we're collecting. And that includes health systems, payers, pharma, nonprofit organizations, and many more. Next slide. Now, what truly makes us unique is the fact that we have built out a social cultural behavior AI algorithm. What does that mean? That means that we're taking behavior a step further. We're looking at traditions. We're looking at language. We're looking, well, I'm gonna share this in case you didn't notice. I am Spanish, and I love my rice, and I love my beans, and I like tortillas, and unfortunately, if I'm eating with my family and I say, happen to have type 2 diabetes, it's very difficult to eat. So how do you train a person? How do you help a person empower themselves and eat healthier under those conditions? And that's why we've wanted to really build an algorithm that empowers people and that gives them the habits and the strength to make the choices to improve their health. Next. Now, I know this is a bold statement. We're on track to be the largest diabetes company, and we will be, by the way, just so you know, we will be. And the reason why is because a lot of my competition out there actually works under an employer wellness model with insurance companies. They actually go to the Fortune 1000 who have insurance, and they say, hey, we're gonna help you with your diabetes, and all the employees, get these great wellness programs, and that's awesome. But just as a shared statistic, one of my largest competitors only taps into 0.017% of the total population of 37 million, and they're the largest company. So it's kind of scary to think that there's so many companies out there that aren't helping such a huge margin of people, many of us BIPOC individuals. Next slide. A little bit on our attraction. It's been an amazing journey these 2.5 years. 100,000 members have joined in our wait list and are waiting to come on board. 1,800 of those are for our first pilot. We have a fellowship that we're doing with the Knight Foundation. We have a lot more. Obviously, we have strategic partnerships. We're in talks with VCU Health, Baptist Health. I talked earlier today with Mayo Clinic, and it's just been an amazing journey. Also, the clientele, both corporate and medical, that has signed up on our wait list to join our vision and to come on board. Next slide. This is our 3-year projected revenue. As you can see, year 1, it's about $128,000. That does not include a current proposal that's in our pipeline with Abbott Pharmaceuticals that we're working on. Next slide. We are a B2B enterprise business, meaning we make our money from other companies. I pay enough in health, so I'm not paying anymore. And I think most people with diabetes would agree. So our goal is really to work with enterprise businesses, both companies, as you can see here, medical professionals who wish to share their expertise, and also the pharma companies, the payers that are interested in that data to really make a significant change in diabetes. Next slide. This is my amazing team. I'm in the middle somewhere over here. I already presented myself, but I want to talk about my amazing team. I have 2 technical founders who have been working with me in my previous business and who come from years of experience from Capital One to many other types of businesses in the health industry and other. I have an amazing CFO over 35 years experience in finance, and he's taken companies public. And I also have my VP of Research and Diabetes Education, who has been key in building this education platform to really empower people with diabetes. I also have an amazing board from Harvard Business School, Mount Sinai, Johns Hopkins, and more. And we're building that board every day with new mentors and advisors who want to come on board and work with us. Before I end, I did want to share one thing. Presently, we are raising a round that will be closing December 15. If you're interested in more information, please do not hesitate to come over afterwards. I'm super excited to be here, and I hope that all of you can share in our passion and our vision to help people with diabetes. So thank you so much. Next slide. Any questions, let me know. Oh, went too far.
Thank you. Can you speak a little bit to the waitlist to pilot conversion numbers and then also the engagement of the people who are actually in your pilot? How did you target the pilot signups? What percentage of your waitlist is engaged? Things like that.
Yeah, great question.
And who are those folks too?
And who are they? So of the 100,000, they are all people with diabetes. We're talking, again, a mix of the 4 types, so type 1, type 2, gestational, and pre-diabetes. It's also a mix of people with diabetes, parents, and caregivers. So one of the things that we did to build out that list is that early on in our experience, we actually started doing a lot of interviews and a lot of surveys. And we started meeting with all the moderators of all the different groups out there that were working with people with diabetes and who had Facebook groups and who were dealing with a lot of the issues we are trying to solve. And what we found was that many of them saw the same issue happening. People were giving false information, they were being sold cinnamon cures, and they wanted a safer place. And it was through these different experiences that we were able to build relationships, and many of them say, let me know when it's launched. I'm not gonna close Facebook, but if this is safer and it's providing education and you're empowering them and you can improve health and you can prove it, we're coming over. So the goal really as a community, because that's what we are, we're really a community. It's been just magical. It's actually a lot higher than 100,000. I'm just being a little conservative. Yeah.
Can you just give us some tangibles around that though? Like if you email these people, what's your open rates on engagement with them? How many of the 1,300 are daily active users or monthly active users? Like, can you just give us some tangibles?
So we are actually right now in private beta. So right now, those 1,300 are on the wait list to come into the private beta as we're speaking. So it's not anything where we are tangibly tracking any data with them. When it comes to how we're communicating, primarily through email, we do have generally like a small event that we will host, every 3 months just to keep them active. November is Diabetes Awareness Month, so generally during Diabetes Awareness Month, we'll hold an activity or 2 with panels and different things just to keep them engaged and active. But the goal here is really to connect with those moderators and those leaders that are responsible for those groups, because they're really our key allies in bringing those people over. Yeah.
Yes. So in the presentation, you're talking about really 3 different kind of levels of customer.
Yes.
So in your mind, do you have that differentiated as a primary, secondary, kind of tertiary, and how do you build your team to be able to kind of engage all 3, or do you see yourself focusing on one over the other 2?
Well, right now our members don't pay a cent. These are the individuals with diabetes. Our clientele are medical professionals, and again is that list that you saw on the right side, which includes organizations such as pharma, insurance companies, and others. Right now my team is 5 individuals. Our vision is that as we scale and we start onboarding not just the members, but also the clients, especially the first 2-3 clients that we already have signed, ready to come on board. Our vision is that at that moment we bring in the customer success manager. I have experience, over 15 years, C-level experience in sales and marketing, so I've been kind of doing that all myself. I'm hoping to do more operational work, but obviously we want to be as lean as possible. But yes, we will have to grow, and as a medical company, growth is critical in order to achieve those outcomes. Mm-hmm.
In your presentation, you touched on, just in a small way, a little bit about your competition, one in particular that has in their market share. Tell me who is keeping you up at night, and as a result of that company or those companies keeping you up at night, where do you see your company in the next 2 to 3 years?
Oh, that's a really great question. I would say, I think for me right now, the bigger companies are always a threat. They have the funding, they have the money available to do things. I think for me, it's really about the people. I find that most of them are so focused on this type of model that works directly with a quick monetary revenue solution that they've forgotten the core of the diabetes population. I mean, close to over 95% of them are not being helped. And I think that for me has been the one element that I feel is my advantage, is that I'm able to tap into those 95%. I might not tap into all of them, maybe 10, maybe 20%, but I feel that that's really the one element that does keep me up, is what if they decide to pivot? Can they pivot? And if they were, do I have enough of a differentiator to keep people? And I think I do, based on the different offerings that we have, and more importantly, so far the excitement people have shown in just this beta. It's been amazing.
Who are they?
Who are they? The competitors?
Yeah.
There's two communities, there's two social health apps. One of them is called Patients Like Me, and the other one's called The Mighty. And both of those companies actually are, one of them is a forum-style community. The other one is a community, but it has a lot of different acute and chronic diseases. What I find is because they have so many different target areas, diabetes is a very small margin, and they're very much like a Facebook. I wanted to take it a step further and turn social health into an educational opportunity where outcomes can be measured and research can be done, and where we can work both with health systems and payers to generate positive outcomes. So really that's how we differentiate from them. And there are larger companies also like Livongo, Lark, but again, they have that employer insurance model directly with private companies.
And so in 2 to 3 years, where will you be?
Wow. I hope, honestly, that we have reached a capacity, or not a capacity, but that we've reached over 500,000 members, that we are in Latin America, in Canada, Caribbean, and in the United States. We are launching in several languages over the next 18 months. And I'm really excited to think of just the change that we can create in how people interact and how they use the social experience to improve their health.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thanks.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
Great job, Lorena, thank you. All right, next up, hailing from Charlottesville, Virginia, please welcome Thomas Sherman with Circle Solutions.
I would like to hold my little hand.
Hello, my name is Thomas Sherman. I'm one of the founders of Circle Solutions, not CRCL. Slide. Oh, sorry. Oh, you're not. Oh, okay, sorry. So I've always been interested in weather. What you're looking at right now is a weather map. My co-founder, Daniel Vassallo, has been interested in energy, and at Circle, what we do is predict how much wind and solar energy is being produced at over 5,000 farms in the US. So just like you would get a daily weather report from like the Weather Channel or your local news station, we provide a local energy report. Next slide. So why would you want energy data? This was a surprise to me when I started this company, but you can buy and sell power just like you can buy and sell a stock, so you can take financial options. And so like the stock market, the energy market has financial risk. And a lot of that risk is coming from poor weather and poor renewable energy forecasting. So As we all know, like from watching the news, when the weather is often wrong. So when the weather forecasts are wrong, the energy forecasts are wrong, and we don't know where the supply of energy is coming on the grid. So what we developed at Circle was a data platform and a technology that improves weather forecasting and allows our customers to make more money and reduce their risk when participating on these markets. Our customers are groups like utilities and commodity traders. And I know this is a really niche market, and so we did over 200 interviews to confirm this is actually a problem in the industry. Next slide. Our solution is it's a cloud-based environment, so customers can get forecast data all in our cloud with an API access, so they get the data and stream it right into their infrastructure. Again, the data is used, it's highly granular, and so it allows them to reduce the risk and quantify some uncertainty when participating on these markets, and then it allows them to increase their profits. We've done a really good job with developing a community of traders to get constant feedback and iterate with our customers to make new products and features. We're a data as a service business model, so a customer will pay a year subscription to our data. Next slide. This slide is how the technology works. So we take current weather forecast data. That is coming from models like you would see on TV. It's publicly available. We know where those models are going to be wrong. They have biases that we find with a machine learning AI technology, and then we convert that corrected weather forecast into power with physics-based models. That data is made accessible on our cloud environment to our customers. Next slide. So far, we've had really good traction. We've been around for 2 years. The first year, we got a non-dilutive National Science Foundation SBIR grant, and that was used to basically make the technology. And then in February this year, we started selling the subscription service. And so every quarter, we've doubled revenue. Since joining Lighthouse Labs, we've increased 75%, so I'm calling that the Lighthouse bump. And we expect for our fourth quarter to, again, double revenue based off the third quarter. Next slide. So far to date, we have 13 customers. We project our ARR will be $400,000 by the end of the year. We're writing a follow-up funding proposal from the National Science Foundation for $1.1 billion in non-dilutive funding. On the tech side, we are developing, our technology is very scalable, so we're going to do the same thing in Canadian and European markets, so that will triple our total addressable market. And then we are pulling billions of weather data points in this process, so there's all kinds of other analytics we can provide to weather-dependent industries. Some examples are wildfires and flooding mitigation efforts. Next slide. So the team, it's me and Daniel Vassallo. We were both PhD students together at Notre Dame. Our research was focusing on AI and machine learning for environmental modeling purposes. Since we graduated, we started the company. We've gotten really great traction. Forbes recognized us in the last year's energy division. And then we're guided by our advisor, Jan Dudden. He's an industry professional, has been around for over 25 years and runs his own company that provides data analytics to commodity traders. Next slide. So what I'm looking for right now is to really mature the business. We're both tech founders, so we need help with marketing, sales, and business development. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
So thanks for the presentation. It sounds like the solution's very highly dependent on that AI and machine learning component. So how do you protect that as a proprietary piece of your company, and what do you do to mitigate the risk in that?
So we're keeping it a trade secret right now. We've been advised not to try to patent it or anything like that, so it's really just kept under the hood. Right now, me and Daniel are the only ones who know how that algorithm is made, and we're just keeping it secret.
Can you speak, obviously, customer growth, revenue growth shows kind of the proof is in the pudding, but can you speak a little bit to, do you have any case studies on the accuracy, especially with the volatility of weather and using that to cause those forecasts. Do you have any case studies or data you can share on the improved accuracy that some of your clients have seen from your predictions?
So from the weather side, all that data is public. I know what the wind speed was, what the solar radiance values were, and I know what the forecast were, so I can show our improvements. We're getting over 30% air improvements on the weather forecasting side. On the energy side, a lot of that data is kept proprietary, so I don't actually know how much energy is being produced by the wind and solar farms themselves, but we've tested it out with all kinds of our customers, and we're getting really great feedback that there's trading signals, meaning with our data they can unlock new insights and make more money, and that's our proxy for validating. It might not be accurate, but it's giving them a trading signal, and that's ultimately what our customers want.
Have you had any customers churn, and if so, why?
So we're too early in the process for that. They're year subscriptions. We just started in February, so none of them have expired yet. But I will say we've had a few customers. There's 7 different markets you can trade in, and so typically a customer will buy 2 or 3 markets. But our current customers, they start out with 1 or 2, and then they're adding markets. So it's a good signal that we'll probably keep them.
Great.
Well, I'll say, based on your projections, I'm in the wrong business. Who knew? If you can expand a bit on your subscription model, I want to better understand that.
So I reach out to people, right now, I reach out to people on LinkedIn. It's typically small quant shops, so the groups we're selling to have 3 to 5 people. I ask them, are they interested in data? They're usually a bunch of quantitative data scientists, so they say yes. I give them my historical data, and then they can back test, okay, given your data, if I had that last year, I would have made this much more money. And so once they do their validation, it's a yes or no. Right now, we're converting over 50% of the people who trial our product right now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Great job.
That's brilliant.
All right, it's time for our final pitch of the day. Taking the stage from Harrisonburg, Virginia, please put your hands together for Ben Speaks with Gigzilla.
I've got the brains, you've got the looks. Let's make lots of money.
Benjamin Speaks, co-founder of Gigzilla. Pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to meet you, judges. First, a thank you to Lighthouse Labs. It's been an awesome experience, and I'm both humbled and happy to be here. Let's go ahead and get some things going, and I gotta apologize to y'all. This light is killing me right now. Gigzilla. We are a professional employment platform for workers and employers in essential industries. I had a professor at Virginia Tech once that said a couple things to me. He said, Ben, you develop a product, food, shelter, clothing, it goes on for eternity. We provide JOBs. You need that to get the first 3. So regardless of who's in the market, whether the economy goes north or the economy goes south, we will always be needed. Let's go to the next slide, please. You can't boil an ocean. We don't have that. We had 500,000. It's gone, basically. Here's where we are. We entered the market through the supply chain. Supply chain is upstream. If you're an investor, that's a big deal. LinkedIn did something very similar. They didn't go downstream. We're starting where all the issues are in the supply chain. Remember when you didn't have toilet paper? That's a supply chain issue. Let's keep going. These are the types of businesses we're talking to. We expect actually every one of these businesses to be a customer sometime next year. We're doing very well in our space, but right now, we just went from pre-revenue to revenue with our first contract. So we're very happy to be here. And by the way, part of that was with our experience with Lighthouse. They gave us some guidance that helped make us better. Let's go to the next slide. Why are we different? We are not a social network. We are the antithesis of LinkedIn and Facebook. When you get on our platform, honestly, we're more like Foreplay. We're a dating site. Worker builds profile, boss looks at profile, boss decides if they want to check out the worker, fill out the application, come in for an interview. We are community college focused. Once again, the antithesis of LinkedIn. We care about the people that get certificates and diplomas that move on into essential industries. Is this super loud? What is up with this thing? Anyways, essential workers are our focus, and the last thing is myself and my co-founder grew up in the essential worker space. As a matter of fact, I got laid off during COVID because I worked in restaurants. We're here to fix that problem. Let's keep going. Story time. We did an enterprise pilot for Cisco last year. They are the largest employer in the essential, one of the largest employers of essential workers in the United States. 70 billion in annual revenues. They validated that our secret sauce was good. What they said to us was your entry in the market will determine if we're your first customer. That's when we went to the community colleges to find their supply. Let's keep going. Community colleges is a very clever way to enter the market. I'm talking fast, aren't I? Sorry, let me slow this down. There's about 1,500 in the United States, and this is where essential workers are trained. So if you want a heavy equipment operator, you want a truck driver, you want a diesel tech, you don't get them from Virginia Tech, you don't get them from UVA. I'm sure you all have excellent pedigrees too, but there were no truck drivers at your schools. This is where you go. We're the only employment platform active in that space. There's white-collar bias in LinkedIn, and they can't accurately service that space. Let's keep going here. A little about our business model. Check the box. We're SaaS. Our first pilot customer, which is becoming a customer now, will go to 600K in ARR first year, 1.2 second year, 1.8 third year. By the way, they laughed at us. They thought that was cheap. We're figuring it out. We don't know everything, but we know we're in a place that people need our product. Let's keep going. The team. You can see me up here. I'm dancing. My co-founder is down there. She's the person that runs product and takes data and makes my insights a reality. Brad is our CFO. He has sold 3 companies out of Charlottesville. He's a SaaS financial expert. And also Justin just joined us sitting over here. He is our COO. He's done a lot of different businesses. Most recently, he helped open the Facebook data center here. Next slide, please. Okay, everybody says they're excited, so this is why I'm excited in what we're doing. I think it's awesome, but these individuals here are all well known. Eugene founded Rosetta Stone. Tim Hayden founded Solely Organic. George Pace founded, well, he did a bunch of companies in Virginia. Every one of them has built their startups to 100 million in ARR alone. They all invested in our company. So I say we're good, but this is validation from the market and people that have done it before. Next slide, please. Okay, we are in the middle of a round. We just started it. A little about our background. We did 500 pre-seed, 500K pre-seed. We did a 500K bridge round, and now we're trying to raise 1.5 million. I would love for any of you to join us. Questions? Sorry about that. I saw too much. Anyway. Sharks, what can I do for y'all?
So you mentioned you're going to the community colleges for the talent acquisition.
Yes, correct.
Can
Supply.
you speak to a little bit about the extent or number of community college relationships you have, average number of students you're ingesting from each community college, et cetera?
I can speak to some of that, but not all of that. Yep. So we have about an 80% close rate with the community colleges we go to. There's no comparable product. We don't charge them, of course. We want supply for free. So they become our channel partners. So let me give you an example. I can't name the state. There's one state that's bringing all their community colleges on with us next quarter. They're going to implement us as their LinkedIn. So during career day at that community college, all the students are required to build that as a graded assignment. I don't know what the retention rate is, but I know we'll have accessibility, and I'll have those numbers later.
Got it. Thank you.
Next question.
So I was impressed with your board.
Yeah, they're awesome.
So beyond them being investors, how else do you interact with them?
So one of them, Tim Hayden, is a coach. We meet with him 2 or 3 times a week. He meets with us on Monday. I've done a startup but never been a founder. His advice has been invaluable. All of them are accessible. So Gabrielle and myself, we meet with Eugene, the co-founder of Rosetta Stone, every other week. We literally meet with him in person. We tell him what's going on. So even though they're on our board, I consider them more like mentors and coaches. And we need that advice right now. We don't know everything. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons we got involved with Paul and Lighthouse is because we made some really expensive mistakes our first year, and I didn't want to repeat those. So they're involved with us on a regular basis.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so the way that you describe the model and what you're doing, you've got a fairly significant potential to ramp up quickly with it because you've got large companies and a lot of community colleges that you can engage.
Yes.
How do you see the team that you have now being able to manage that, and how do you see, what's your next steps to grow your team?
Okay.
And when do you need to do that to not run, kind of off the rails?
So That's a good question. We actually had to stop business development with community colleges because we can't keep up with what we got involved with. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in honestly, the investment we need is for two things. I want to continue to do business development with community colleges because what the employers have told us is the amount of students isn't relevant. They just have to be qualified. Let me give you an example. At Blue Ridge Community College, they only do maybe 10 or 15 truck drivers a quarter, but that's it for 40 miles. So I want to continue to grow that side of the market because it's invaluable. I need better technology, and also I need more marketing dollars to get with more employers, but we're doing well right now. So I think, yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think, I think what you, I guess in thinking about this, right now you said you don't have any competitors. There's nobody really in that space, but there can be, right? And
So that's a naive, let me correct. There are many direct and indirect competitors, but not many of them are entering the market through community colleges. What they tend to do is stand up a specialty site where they go truck drivers or diesel techs. So they do what I call gig focus sites. Mm-hmm. While we're the antithesis of LinkedIn, we are similar in that we want to be a general platform for all the essential workers to hang out on. So our formula is a little different.
All right, thanks.
Other questions, ma'am?
I'm thinking.
You're thinking? We good? We good? Thank you all very much. Gigzilla.
Great job, Ben. Thank you. Well, wow, what an amazing group. Let's hear it one more time for all of our founders tonight. So now, Sharks, thank you so much for your great questions. I need you to exit so you can deliberate for our Shark favorite. But also, audience, you have a job to do as well. So if we could put the QR code up there, please take out your phones and you have a chance to vote for your fan favorite who you saw here today. So take out your camera, scan the code. We'll give you a minute to go ahead and vote there. You'll be directed to pick your favorite team. You get one vote, so choose wisely. And we will announce the winner along with the Shark favorite here in just a few moments. And now I hope that you've all voted, and as the judges deliberate, I'd like to direct your attention to the screen one more time. We are celebrating our 10 years of investing in the lives of founders, launching a Fund to Founder campaign in the spring, and now we'd like to tell you a little bit more about it in the video above here. Thank you.
How did Lighthouse help us? Let me count the ways.
Lighthouse Labs was instrumental in helping us, especially early on.
As first-time entrepreneurs, we walked in the dark until we saw the light of Lighthouse Labs, and they gave us all the information that we needed to get ahead.
I think being a part of an accelerator program like Lighthouse ties you to something bigger than yourself.
It provides such a major impact really early on in a founder's career.
So I think Richmond is sort of that just right kind of Goldilocks type community, people who want to settle here to start their business.
The biggest way that Lighthouse helped us was in preparing us to fundraise, and after that, many other ways. So we met so many experts, not even just mentors or friends along the way, but that are still integral to our company. So these are experts we still work with and rely on their advice and their expertise on a daily basis.
There's not anybody in Richmond who won't take the opportunity to have a nice coffee with you and listen and try to make a connection and help you as you want to grow your business.
Lighthouse Labs gave us the mentorship and guidance that we needed. It helped provide a playbook through the mentors, through kind of a repeatable process, through the various trainings and experts that were brought in. And it also created a lasting network for myself as a founder, first-time founder, to rely on. And to this day, I still have quarterly meetings with some of my mentors back from 2014.
Lighthouse has made so many introductions, I can't even count the number of people.
Startup Genome, which is a global ranking, recently ranked Richmond, Virginia as number 51 for all ecosystem global development. And that was actually a 30-point jump from the previous year. And what really spearheaded that jump was the amount of founders and businesses that are being created here, the amount of capital that's being invested into those businesses, and the success of those businesses in the future.
I think so often in Richmond we talk about economic development and we think about big Fortune 500 companies, but the untold story is the great growth in the city, largely due in part to organizations like Lighthouse Labs.
It's a great time for startups to be in this community. There's a lot of support and a lot of intellectual capital here too.
Lighthouse came in for me at a time when, in the pandemic, when I was really feeling the loss of community and network, and knowing that I needed to bring my business to the next level, I was actually a little concerned. And Lighthouse has brought to me not only introductions to potential customers, but introductions to investors and mentors. Now I suddenly have this instant community that I feel already the pace of my company accelerating.
It's hard when you're the only one believing in this thing, so to have a team believe also in what I'm doing is really key. It was kind of pivotal to my journey as a founder.
Lighthouse was actually a complete game changer for book clubs and for our company.
The other thing I think that's great about Richmond as a community is it's small enough that you matter, that people will pay attention to you, you don't get lost in the crowd, but big enough that we have a huge array of resources.
Richmond is such a great place to start and grow a business for a number of reasons, but mostly because of a give-first community.
Our secret sauce here in Richmond is that folks that have been successful are willing to give back. And you don't find that in every community, but in Richmond you have a genuine group of people that are willing to share their successes, their failures, and help a new founder along the way.
Lighthouse is the oldest, most successful accelerator in the state of Virginia.
And being a part of the mentorship program for Lighthouse Labs really helps de-risk the opportunity for those founders by making those connections faster. And any way that I can help them get a little bit further along, I'm willing to take that time and talent to do that.
So often when you're day-to-day as a founder, you're just executing, and Lighthouse is a really great opportunity to take a step back and focus on your business as opposed to in the business, wrapped around with a handful of some of the smartest people I know, helping these businesses scale and grow.
Lighthouse is a critical building block to an entrepreneurial support system.
The great thing about living in Richmond is it's really a small town feel with all the big city amenities.
And even if they're 25 years younger, I pick up one or two things from every meeting. And again, the passion is contagious. So I see them excited about their business, and I carry that over to my business as well.
Lighthouse Labs is the best accelerator in the country. It is an accelerator that is really a home for entrepreneurs to have the tools and resources to effectively scale their business. I think it's one of the best places in the country to start a business.
The people in Richmond is what makes it all different. Everybody's willing to give to each other, to help.
I am super proud to be on the board of Lighthouse because I think that it is really founder first.
Any city is vibrant because of its startup community. And the more that we invest in the lives of the founders, the more vibrant our community will be.
Thank you. Well, now, if you feel so inspired and would like to donate to our campaign today, please take out your phones one more time and scan the QR code on the screen. You'll be directed to a donation page where you can make a contribution. So now I'd like to bring out Dr. John McCurley from VCU Health. We're thrilled to partner with them, and I want to bring him on today. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, I have some notes because this is supposed to be a short speech, and that's the only way it'll be short. One, I just would like to, I'd just like to give another round of applause for the people that presented today. They were amazing. Thank you so much. It's really encouraging. You know, VCU Health is the largest safety net provider in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and so we see firsthand the the challenges in the delivery of healthcare. This actually isn't a prop. I'm having healthcare delivered myself. But we know that the delivery system is broken, and we're looking for ways to improve that. And oftentimes, when you're in the middle of something, you can't see what you need to see to fix it. And so, it's very encouraging for somebody, in my team particularly, we look for innovation. We're looking at what's the right problem to solve next within the delivery system, and how do we do that? And so we're looking for both inspiration and actually for solutions from innovators like the teams that presented today. So it's been really a pleasure to be working with Lighthouse Labs and to be supporting them and to be part of this journey with them. I wrote down a couple of things that I wanted to mention. Because in kind of the healthcare stack, I think this is our third year partnering. My first year having a chance to do this, but in working with Lighthouse Labs, we've had over 160 applications from healthcare companies, and those have been in Virginia and frankly all across the country. And we've been able to accelerate 18 healthcare companies. And over the past 3 years, those companies have gone on to raise over $14 million. And so, that's to me, as a provider of healthcare, as a member and a participant in the healthcare system, and then as a patient, that's really encouraging. And so we're looking forward to the future together. I want to say thanks to all of you that came to present. Thanks to the people that are here that are listening, to Lighthouse Labs, and to the team with Lighthouse Labs that really helps make all this possible for you all. Thanks very much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Dr. McCurley. All right, everyone, it's time to announce our winners. So first up, we have our fan favorite vote. It was very, very close, within just 2 points. But you have spoken, and the winner is Mobius Materials with Margaret. Get on up here, Margaret. Come on up. Yeah, our sharks can come on back out. Congratulations.
Let me get it right here first.
Now, Margaret, as the winner of the fan favorite vote. Congratulations, Margaret, everybody. Right here from Richmond, VA. She's going to be given $500 to take her team out to celebrate and enjoy a night on the town. So congratulations, Margaret. And then the winner of our shark favorite vote. The sharks deliberated and they had a very hard time. But the winner goes to Circle Solutions, Thomas Sherman. Get on up here.
All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind.
And we have a very special prize for Thomas and Circle Solutions from our sharks over here. Let Thomas get out here. Here we go. Come on, Thomas. So as the shark favorite, he is going to receive a tag of a shark out in the Atlantic Ocean, size, species, gender, along with a unique tracking number to follow it, to follow the shark on its journey, will be named Circle Solutions, which is pretty cool, so thank you to our sharks. But on top of that, you also get $1,500 to celebrate, take your team out, and have a good night on the town. So congratulations to Margaret and Thomas with Mobius and Circle Solutions. We want to thank all of you for coming today. One more time, big round of applause for all of our amazing founders out there. You all did an excellent job. We also wanted to invite you all to join us across the street at the Capital One Cafe. They are kind enough to host us for an after party. You can have more time to chat with our founders, with one another. So once we are through here, please feel free to head across the street about 6 o'clock to the Capital One Cafe right here in Carytown. Thank you again. Another big round of applause, and we really appreciate all of you supporting Lighthouse Labs and investing in the lives of our founders. Thank you so much. Jay.